BBC propaganda has been captured. There's a video. There's actually a still image. That's the image. The propaganda of the BBC has been captured, and this is that leaked note by a British journalist. Look closely. The Maduro kidnapping has BBC rattled. You know why? Because it exposes that desperate wordplay to whitewash a rogue act. A leaked internal note reveals BBC's directive to avoid calling the abduction of Maduro a kidnapping. Instead, they want to call it captured, to sanitize the truth and fit the, Western narrative of what I call is the concept, their concept of imperial justice. Viewers, this is legitimizing illegality under the guise of impartiality. This is only another example of how the BBC resorts to deception. The BBC, viewers, has a long history of twisting words and facts to push biased agendas, especially in its coverage of India, where it resorts to cheap tricks that undermine truth. Look at these news reports. Take the Pahalgam attack, where Pakistani terrorists slaughtered innocent Indians. The BBC called them gunmen to soften the brutality of terror, to avoid offending their preferred narratives. Not terrorists, gunmen. Then there's Atiq Ahmed, notorious gangster with a rap sheet longer than his political career. After he was killed, BBC headlined him as a former Indian MP, omitting his criminal empire to paint him as a, fallen politician rather than a menace to society. Don't forget what they did with Burhan Wani, the Hizbul terrorist. On his anniversary, BBC focused on anger and defiance in Kashmir, amplifying separatist voices while ignoring the terror he unleashed on civilians. Viewers, the list of such lopsided, biased narratives is endless. From downplaying Pakistani aggression and Pakistani terror to hyping up anti-India sentiments, the BBC consistently chooses propaganda over facts. And despite this blatant hypocrisy, the ecosystem in India that seeks validation, the so-called liberal elite, they endorse this propaganda with open arms. They quote BBC as gospel. They ignore how it distorts India's reality to serve colonial-era biases and geopolitical agenda. That is what it is, viewers. So let's not fall for this sophistry. This is a total betrayal of truth. Let's shed this hypocrisy tonight, once and for all. BBC, as it at best, is a tool of the empire peddling lies to maintain power structures. And the Indian ecosystem that props it up, they are complicit, they are collaborators, they sacrifice national pride for some misplaced foreign validation. Look, who do we have on the panel? Vivek Srivastav. John Dayal continues. Tushar Gupta joining us. Vivek sir, Happy New Year. Good to see you. आज कमरुज़मान चौधरी भी बहुत दिन बाद आए हैं. आपको भी देख के अच्छा लग रहा है.
And a Happy New Year.
What do you think of what the BBC has been up to, sir? Not the first time. I just, read out some examples.
You're talking to me?
Yes, sir.
मुझे कह रहे हैं आप?
आपसे ही कह रहा हूं. Yes,
it's a balancing act by the BBC. I'm a communist. नहीं, thank you, sir. Thank you for calling me. मैं तो सीधा कहूंगा, मैं कम्युनिस्ट हूं, मैं वेनेजुएला की सरकार का समर्थक हूं. I support them and a regime change by an external agency, an external country, the way it happened in Iraq, the way it happened in Afghanistan, they tried it in Vietnam. American imperialists, हम इनके खिलाफ हैं. A red salute to Venezuela and the people of Venezuela. It is wrong what has been done. BBC should be more critical. That is one part of the story. The sad part is there are two more parts of the same story. My prime minister endorsed this president of United States. It is my prime minister who went there and set up Ki Baat Ram Sarkar. It is my prime minister who was.
He never said it.
It was.
He never said it. Vivek Srivastav, stop peddling lies in the new year. He was quoting. ये आधा मत बोलिए ना. उन्होंने पूरा कोट पढ़ा था. ऐसे मत कीजिए. By the way, you said red salute. 1 minute, sir. 1 minute. Save some salute for this. You know what BBC says about Burhan Wani, about Pahalgam. Pahalgam mein kaun aaye the, sir? Who are the people who killed innocent Indians? Were they gunmen or Pakistani terrorists? What was Burhan Wani?
You may be critical. Listen to me now. I believe we should criticize the media selectively. Wherever they need a correction, there's nothing wrong. But I also stand for the freedom of expression of Pranesh over here. He should be allowed to speak boldly whatever he likes.
But sir,
whether it is against the Prime Minister or against us, the opposition. That guarantee should be given.
एक और सवाल, सर विवेक श्रीवास्तव इतने दिन बाद आए हैं आप, सवाल खत्म नहीं हो रहे मेरे. फ्री स्पीच का एग्जाम्पल हमने अभी जेएनयू में देखा है. वो कह रहे मोदी तेरी कब्र खुदेगी.
हाँ, जेएनयू में बहुत अच्छा हुआ. कोई बात नहीं सर, सबने पुतले जलाए हैं इस देश में 70 साल, बीजेपी ने भी जलाए हैं. यहां पे उसी एबीवीपी ने आकर के दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के ऑडिटोरियम में गिलानी को लाकर के स्पीच के लिए बुलाया था गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने कि मेन स्ट्रीम में आइए आप, और एबीवीपी के लड़कों ने अटैक किया था. लेकिन आई विल नेवर लाइक द एबीवीपी स्टूडेंट्स टू बी टारगेटेड or to be victimized just in the name of some ideology. They are students.
Let's talk about one more ideology, then I'll open this up. Tushar, I know you want to come in. Kamru Zaman Chaudhary ji bhi bolna chahte hain. Vivek Srivastava, Burhan Wani and how Burhan Wani is, portrayed by the BBC. आप क्या सोचते हैं सर बुरहान वानी के बारे में?
कर रहे हैं. आप क्या सोचते हैं अतीक अहमद के एनकाउंटर के बारे में? क्या वो इस मुल्क के ऊपर एक काला धब्बा था या नहीं? आप क्या सोचते हैं मुख्तार अंसारी की मृत्यु के बारे में? आप क्या सोचते हैं कुलदीप सेंगर को छोड़ने के बारे में? आप क्या सोचते हैं गुरमीत राम रहीम को लाइफ इंप्रिजनमेंट मिलती है और 15 वालों पैरोल पे जा चुका है?
One question on Burhan Wani can have this effect. It had triggered Vivek Srivastava. Kamru Zaman Chaudhary ji, I'm coming to you. Let me bring in Tushar very quickly. Tushar, this is not the first time, but this just tells you that the ecosystem's blind faith on BBC stands exposed.
Pranesh, the BBC is actually a tool of the British Empire. It's the British Broadcasting Corporation. It's submissive to the interests of the government of the United Kingdom. And the United Kingdom and Europe as a whole is working with the United States when it comes to their interest in the Western Hemisphere. So what we are seeing with respect to the BBC and their coverage of Venezuela, it's not surprising. They will do all it takes to sugarcoat what has happened in Venezuela, what has happened in terms of invading another country, picking up the head of state, all said and done. 100 faults with the Venezuelan leader, but this is not the way to go about it. But even if the US wants to do it, why are they afraid of defining it as it is? And this is the newspaper, this is the outlet the liberals of India believe in. They rest their faith in. One documentary by the BBC and you have liberals drooling over it, somehow imagining it to be the gospel truth about India. A corporation that sugarcoats lies, that sugarcoats crimes of the West, is an outlet that the liberals of India, liberals like Vivek Srivastava here, hold it as the gospel truth. They believe this outlet over journalists in India, over the government of India.
Vivek Srivastava, I don't think he's a liberal.
I am selectively critical.
Sir, you are everything. No, you are selective in everything. That's okay. Kamru Zaman Chaudhary ji, sir, आप क्या सोचते हैं?
No, Pranesh, it's coming very rich, whose freedom index in the world ranking is around 151 to the British's 20th. So that question apart. Now, what happens out here is that I believe, Pranesh, as a journalist, you very well know, because I've got plenty of journalist friends who receive instruction from their editor, that you need to address this issue according to this line, according to that line. Don't get into the word kidnapped, get into the word
That's
captured.
not my question. I'm asking you about how BBC, how it portrays, so Kashmir, Burhan Wani, our map has been distorted multiple times. Kashmir ही हटा दिया था sir map से.
No, that so we all condemned when BBC.
Where are you condemning? Vivek Srivastava जी को मैंने बुरहान वानी पे एक सवाल पूछा, उन्होंने पूरी लिस्ट बोल दी. He said everything but Burhan Wani.
You have got the liberty to condemn somebody or appreciate somebody. That's his individual choice. That's where the freedom of expression comes in.
That's his choice.
But the point, Pranesh, that the debate that you have brought out today is not matching with the content that you are discussing out here right now.
Why, sir?
Because
I'm calling out the hypocrisy of BBC. और हमारे ये जो BBC cheerleaders हैं, How is it not matching? ये तो perfect match है. Sushil Pandit.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. I was reminded of some very interesting episodes in history when Mr. Srivastava was calling himself a proud communist against regime changes. Soviet Union intervened in Hungary in 1956 to crush a rebellion which was against Soviet domination. There was another intervention by Soviet Union in Czechoslovakia when Alexander Dubček, who was elected by the Communist Party of Czechoslovakia and was reforming, Soviet Union led an invasion of Czechoslovakia to undo that election and reform. And then in Afghanistan, Hafizullah Amin was ousted by the forces he supposedly invited in Afghanistan and replaced by Babrak Karmal. There have been series of regime changes by communist governments through the decades. But Mr. Srivastava and his forefathers in this movement would turn a complete blind eye and take a moral umbrage at regime changes done by another hegemonic power just because they are American capitalists.
That's the way to say it. Mr. John Dayal, do you endorse how BBC deceives people?
So the BBC, as all of us who are in the profession, and I've been in the profession for 56 years, we know the BBC to be an instrument of British foreign policy, as Mr. Gupta said. Everybody knows that. The British government partly funds it. The Ministry of External Affairs, the Ministry of Defense partly fund it, as does the American government with AP and other governments,
right,
and the Godi media in India.
What is the Godi media here, sir?
I just make my point, sir. Pardon me?
What is the Godi media here, sir?
The Godi media is it is the media which doesn't shed a critical eye at the goings on, the shenanigans of our duly elected government.
I'm sure, with your kind of experience and wisdom, you would not be seen on, any channel that has got anything remotely to do with Godi media. So I'm glad that you're sitting here on Times Now. We've run out of time, wish we had more time. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. The News Hour with Navita Kumar on the other side.